we sort of rewrote the vision of what a human life looks like around the experience of the baby boomers.
Yeah.
And now that's quite difficult to access.
Even though either side of it didn't exist potentially. Like before it, there was life expectancy and quality wasn't that great. Like you said, people were in the war and go beyond that, and the average person wasn't living a great experience.
Yeah, right? Go back to 1912 or something and talk to someone about the housing ladder, and they'll be like, what? What does that mean? The baby boomers, the sort of enough affluence that people leave their kids in school slightly longer, university attendance begins to go up, slightly less here in the UK than in the US. It's a lot bigger, but there's a sort of cultural shift around how view young people, starting work and then getting on the career ladder and getting on the housing ladder, climbing the career ladder. All of this stuff is actually quite particular to the baby boomer experience. And yet we've kind of universalized it just at the right amount of time for it to become really difficult to access. And at the other end of that, like the long retirement.
Golden years was invented as a marketing slogan to sell a retirement village in Arizona.
Yeah.
In like the 50s. And like people are like, they internalize this idea of retirement as if that's a God-given right, know, whereas...
And I don't think that is a bad thing. Like, I don't think this is boomers were fat on the frivolities of the actually, would we prefer older people in our society when they are unable to work to be able to not put themselves through physical and mental strain to kind of keep themselves in food and shelter? Yeah, that's probably a good standard for society to set. And yet so many aspects of that kind of narrative have become really hard to access. I mean, like, I always think about the housing ladder as being this really interesting one. This idea that you're going to buy a starter home. You can still hear people use that phrase quite a lot. And then you're going to gradually buy a slightly bigger home, but a bigger home as, I guess, in the idyllic vision of this, it's that your family grows or whatever. But, you're going to climb up this ladder, and then just before retirement, you're going to downsize, you're going to release all that equity, and you're going to be like, great, I can kick back. Is that a realistic vision of how you're going to engage with the housing market if you're a young person today? Probably not. You're maybe going to buy a house. You might move houses. But are you going to, keep buying a bigger and bigger house and then downsize it?
It requires an ever-increasing property market.
Yeah.
I think house prices between 1951 and 2024 went up like 151 times. To do that again over the next, the average house price would be 43 million. Yeah. And you've got to ask yourself, is that kind of growth realistic? And inflation will do a number on it, yeah, sure, but it was exceptional, the house price growth, unlikely to happen. And if it does, people wouldn't even be able to get on the ladder, like you say, at the start.
The challenge at the moment is that house prices to wages have separated massively. Yeah. I think we're well over 7 times now. I think I'm
depends where you're looking.
Saying, and it depends where you're looking in the country. But it gets to that point where your salary isn't increasing as much as the gap to the next house on the ladder or whatever. So actually, people might move house for like practical reasons, but are you going to gradually work up to that detached house in the countryside or whatever? Probably not. And yet we still have all the language of this that floats around.
This was a clip from our chat with YouTuber Tom Nicholas. To watch a full episode, click right here.